Hello dear students, welcome to digital classes. In today's biology class, we are going to learn about our environment. What do we mean by the term environment? We are talking about surroundings around us. So, what is present around our surroundings? As you can see, yes, layer of air, clouds, we have soil, water, temperature, all these things affecting us. It is not just all the non-living things that I spoke about or the natural resources, but also the plants and animals around us, that is also part of our environment. That means if we try to define environment, finally how do we say what is environment or the surroundings? So, it is the sum total of, that means an integrative or cumulative effect of three important factors. What are the factors? The physical aspect of it, the biological aspect and the chemical aspect, all these three affecting living things. So, when I use the word environment, I am not just talking about my environment or human beings environment. It is in fact that every organism, every plant and animal that is here is very well aware of its own surroundings, its own environment. Now, let us try to understand few of the important terms when we talk about environment. Where do you find these aquatic organisms like fishes? The minute I say aqua, it means I am talking about or referring to water. So, what is present outside the fish's bodies? For example, over here. So, you find there is presence of water. So, whatever is the material that is present around our bodies, we call that as medium. So, for aquatic organisms, their medium is water. Likewise, the medium for organisms living on land, that is terrestrial organisms like us or like the other animals. For example, you can talk about kangaroos, elephants, donkeys, all these things. Keep on talking about all the terrestrial organisms. For them, what is present around them is layer of air. So, air is the medium for that. Likewise, we can also say that soil is the medium for the roots because plants are fixed. That is the medium for them. Now, other important term. What is habitat? Before we go to the term habitat with reference to animals, let us talk about our own habitat. Where do we live? We live in our houses, in our respective houses with our respective families, right, where we go and stay with them, enjoy food, go out, take rest, etc. But again we go out and do our works and get back to a place. So, our home is our habitat, but we do not live in an isolated place. It is not that only our house is there and surroundings nothing is there. It is not like that. We live in a colony or in a particular village we say, or nagar we say, or city we say. Likewise, even animals have or organisms have got their own respective places to stay with their families. So, that is called as a habitat. Habitat is nothing but the living place of an organism. So, what is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is the larger area where this particular organism's habitat is there. So, previously I talked about habitat of only deer. Whereas here I am talking about a larger aspect which is like neighborhood. So, this is an ecosystem where even other organisms survive. What do we mean by the term population? Even in our country we find population census going on, survey going on, right, every 10 years. So, population means here with reference to organisms, we talk about in terms of number. That means number of organisms, number of individuals of one particular species that live together in a particular ecosystem is called a population. So, population is defined as number of individuals that stay in a particular place in a given area at a given time of only one species, that is called as a population. So, if you use the word community in environment, what does this mean? Community means here we are referring to populations of different species. So, different kinds of animals, organisms staying together and population of each and every species if you are considering, then we call it as community. Now, here we are having community as shown of forest ecosystem. This is a community where you find individuals or populations of different species existing. It is of aquatic ecosystem. So, when I use the word ecosystem, what is it that I am talking about? Habitat we understood. Ecosystem is a larger area I am saying. So, ecosystem as such by itself is actually structural and functional unit. It has got a structure and it performs certain functions. What functions it performs, we will see that. But structure wise, what does an ecosystem mean? what are the parts that an ecosystem has? It is divided into two areas. One is the abiotic part and the other one is the biotic factors or biotic part. So, abiotic, A, absence of, bio means life. So, non-living things which affect the life of organisms, influence the life of organisms, they are called as abiotic factors. So, what are the abiotic factors which influence us? Sunlight, air, temperature, water, soil, these are all the things, air pressure, or if you go down, pressure, depth, all these things affect organisms. So, these are all abiotic factors. Biotic factors, it is not that only one species on this planet Earth can survive. One organism, one species cannot disobey the laws of the nature and survive. It doesn't happen like that. All the organisms live in harmony with each other, live in harmony with nature. Then only this entire ecosystem or a particular ecosystem can run. So, what are the biotic factors that I am referring to or talking about? I am talking about the flora, fauna as well as microbes that exist in a particular ecosystem. So, these are the biotic factors. Now, let us talk about the influence of the abiotic factors on life. For example, if we are talking about soil, if soil is alluvium soil, the soil particles is carried away by flowing water, rivers, then you find that the soil is very fertile and it is good for the growth of paddy, that is rice. Whereas if in certain places you find that black soil is present and that is used for the growth of cotton, paddy, jute, all these things. So, see how the soil actually, the type of the soil affects the growth of the crops. So, soil is non-living material. As such, I am talking about the rocks, the mineral part of the soil which affects actually the plant's growth. Similarly, temperature affects organisms. Now, you know that some of the organisms, if you are talking about migratory birds, especially India is the habitat for migratory birds which travel all the way from Siberia. To overcome that extreme temperature, they travel, they take this journey and come to India. That means it is again abiotic factor which is influencing. Similarly, frogs, they undergo long winter sleep and long summer sleep. Winter sleep is called as hibernation and summer sleep is called as estivation. So, I am talking about abiotic factors influencing organisms. Same way, let us talk about human beings. If human beings are exposed to a lot of sun's heat, then the skin color turns to dark. If they are not exposed to a lot of sun's heat, then the skin color is fair. Similarly, if you talk about people living in the Himalayas, like for example in our country, take Himachal Pradesh, you find people having pinkish cheeks. It is because as you keep going up, the altitude increases, the density of the air keeps on decreasing. So, oxygen availability at the top level is less. Hence, such people living, individuals living over there, they have lot of RBC in their body to take oxygen. Now, types of ecosystem, we have two types of ecosystem, man-made ecosystem and natural ecosystem. Man-made ecosystem, they are the ecosystems which are created by us. So, agricultural crops, croplands or aquarium, or you talk about fruit gardens, these are all created by us, but they are also ecosystems. Natural ecosystems, you have again divided further into two categories, terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. So, this is the list showing different types of ecosystem. Why we have different types of ecosystems? The reason for this lies in the fact that Earth's axis is not straight, but it is slightly tilted. Because of that, now the sun's rays that are falling on Earth, they don't fall with the same intensity throughout right from North Pole to South Pole. So, sun's rays are straight at some places, they are slanting at different places. So, tilting of this Earth's axis is the main reason, and the sun's rays falling different lengths. These two are the main factors why there are seasons, climatic changes and different ecosystems. So, accordingly we can divide Earth into three different important zones: the equatorial zone, where sun's rays are direct, and then you have temperate zone where it is not too hot and not too cold, and then the frigid zone where you find the presence of ice glaciers, etc., that is at North Pole and South Pole. Similarly, you can also locate countries which are present in different places according to the amount of the sunlight falling. Why I have spoken about the sunlight is that because of this, again non-biotic factors only, the types of forests that are present even on this planet Earth, there are various types of forest. We use the word forest, but they are not of the same type. So, somewhere we have coniferous forest where you find the pine trees, coniferous trees, etc. And if you are talking about the tropical nations like India, or you take African nations or South America where the second largest river flows Amazon, you find different kinds of forest. as you can see over here, rainforest mentioned. Similarly, desert itself is another important type of ecosystem in its own way. Pond, this is aquatic ecosystem that I am talking about. So, as I mentioned that all the living species that are present over here, they live in harmony with nature, and one species cannot survive all by its own. Now, when I give you this particular slide, I am sure that you can understand the relationship that exists over here. Organisms are interrelated with each other. I am talking about community. They are related with each other in terms of food. One organism becomes the food for the other organism in the form of a chain, and show them the connection. I am sure most of you will do this. You will draw this. So, you find first grass, which is eaten by rabbit, which is in turn eaten by snake, and snake eaten by the largest animal, that is bird over here. So, what is the connection you are showing over here with the help of the arrows? So, it is in the form of a chain. This is nothing but food chain. So, what is a food chain? Food chain shows actually the relationship that exists between the organisms. It is a linear networks of links. So, the link is represented in the form of an arrow. The head of the arrow shows actually the feeder, who is eating, who is feeding, and the tail part of the arrow shows the food. So, again in the first part, let us see this. If you look at the arrow over here, the tail part of the arrow, if you see, it is grass. So, rabbit is eating grass. So, likewise, rabbit is in turn eaten by snake, and so on and so forth. So, it continues. So, this is what is a food chain. You can find yourself a lot of food chains that exist in nature. Just go and find out and observe, you will find. So, another example over here of the food chain is the corn, which is eaten by a mouse, mouse in turn eaten by a snake, and snake again by an owl. So, when you study these food chains, you get two important concepts here. You need to understand that. Here you know that the first part is corn, which is coming from plant. So, it is a plant product which is eaten by mouse. We can divide the organisms into different levels. So, they are called as trophic levels, as you can see over here. So, all the organisms can be placed at different trophic levels based on the type of the food they get or the way how they get their nourishment. So, first one is actually producers. That means producers are the organisms whose bodies are able to generate food on their own. So, they are in short nothing but autotrophs. So, autotrophs, examples of autotrophs, plants and certain bacteria. These are the two sets of organisms present on the planet Earth who have the capacity to produce their own food. The others cannot. So, organisms which can produce their own food are producers, right. So, then producers are eaten by the next level, that is herbivores. So, herbivores are the organisms which depend on plants, that is producers, for their food. So, the next level is over here primary, the herbivores, whatever we are talking about, plant eating organisms, plant eating animals, all of them put together. It can be the largest animal you take, for example, like elephant, or the tallest animal like giraffe, or you talk about only small insects which depend on the juice of the plants. All these are plant eating organisms, herbivores, or for that matter only the seed eating animal like mouse. All these are herbivores. So, herbivores are again called as primary consumers because they are consuming food. So, they are primary consumers. So, primary consumers form the next trophic level. So, first trophic level is producers, then next it is the primary consumers, herbivores, then comes the next level of the organisms which are carnivores. Carnivores are flesh eating animals. So, they depend on the primary consumers, that is herbivores, for their food. And finally, again the next level, the higher level of carnivores and the top level of carnivores, it continues. So, when you look at this flow chart, what you are getting is that one organism is eaten by the other organism and it continues. So, you are talking here about who is producing food, who is eaten by whom, and next level it goes on. So, we have accordingly primary levels, primary consumers, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, it goes on. Now, apart from these particular trophic levels that we talked about, the steps that are present in a particular food chain over here. So, how many organisms are present over here? There are 4 organisms present, right. That means there are 4 levels we are talking about. So, first one corn, mouse, snake and owl. That means there are 4 steps. We just not talk about the levels, but we also talk about the steps that are involved in a food chain. How many organisms are there? Those many steps, that means. These are again different trophic levels, chains, food chains examples that is given over here. Now, let us try to understand another important term when you talk about environment, and that is niche. What is niche? Look at these two organisms. One is a grasshopper, again depends upon grass, it's a herbivore, and even elephant, which is also a herbivore. Just because they are herbivores, do we mean to say that we can compare them and say they are the same? No. Grasshopper is a very tiny organism, whereas elephant is a very huge organism with lot of body mass, right? Its shape, its size, everything is different. So, its mode of life is different. So, if you try to understand their mode of life and try to talk about the organisms and the way they perform their role in a particular ecosystem, then that is called as niche. Just show one food chain, this is eaten by A is eaten by B, B is eaten by C. But it is not must that B is always eaten by C. B herbivore can be eaten by any carnivore. So, next level carnivore can be eaten by next any other top level carnivore. So, there is interlinking of food chains, and that interlinking of the food chains is called as food web. Now, what is this? A pyramid. What is this pyramid over here? You might have studied about pyramids, that they are one of the ancient 7 wonders of the world, right? So, what is a pyramid? It is actually a geometrical structure or geometrical shape. It has got a base. The base can be of any shape. You can have square, triangle or polygonal shape. But the main important part of pyramid is that when you start constructing the walls from the side, all of them have sloping sides, and all the walls, all the sides meet at the apex, at the top. Such a structure is called as pyramid. Why I am talking about pyramid over here? It is because an English ecologist actually called as Charles Elton, he suggested that we can actually give representation of the food chain in the form of a pyramid. So, the graphical representation of any food chain in the form of pyramid, that is called as ecological pyramid. He suggested 3 different types of ecological pyramids. So, let us see what those 3 different types of pyramids are. But I just want to have your attention over here, dear students. See, I talked to you a little while ago about steps, number of steps that are present in a food chain. In the first example, you can see there are 3 organisms, producers, deer and lion. So, there are 3 organisms, means 3 steps, right? In the next, there are 4 organisms, that means there are 4 steps involved in that particular food chain. Generally in nature, when you try to go and observe, you either find 3 or 4 steps food chain. So, now what I said, food chain is represented in the form of a pyramid. When you talk about the pyramid, the base, whatever is there, that is occupied by producers. So, above producers, you find next level, that is herbivores, primary consumers. Next, above that, secondary consumers, that means small carnivores, and then next carnivores, it goes on. This is how it is represented. Now, as I mentioned earlier that we have 3 different types of pyramids. So, what are the 3 different types of pyramids? Pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass and pyramid of energy. What is pyramid of number? First, let us try to understand the given picture over here. At the base, as I mentioned, we have all plants. Plants, see, when I am saying producers, we do not mean just the grass or the leaves. Any plant product which is eaten by any animal, all that comes under producers only, because fruit which is eaten by monkey, where is the fruit coming from? From plants. Squirrels eat, they love to eat nuts, it is coming from plants. So, we place all these under producers, all the plants, their products as producers. So, producers is at the base level. Now, in this particular example, producers are eaten by insects which are called as aphids. They are very small insects. Aphids are in turn eaten by ladybirds, again another type of insects, and those ladybirds are in turn eaten by birds which are insectivorous. Now, here I just want to mention, see, if you talk about certain organisms, they are not like, for example, human beings. We are not completely herbivorous or completely carnivorous. We do not directly eat flesh, but we are omnivorous. We eat the plant products. In the same way, some of the animals also, when we talk about, they can eat plant products and as well as animal products. One such example is sparrow. So, when sparrow is eating at a particular time seeds, then we place sparrow under herbivores. If at another instant, if sparrow is eating insect, then it becomes a carnivore. So, what it is eating at a particular time, accordingly we place it in that particular category. So, here we have insectivorous birds, and those insectivorous birds are in turn eaten by hawk, the highest top level carnivore. what is pyramid of number? We understood that we are representing food chain in the form of a pyramid. So, what is this pyramid of number? First, let us learn its definition. Pyramid of number shows the number of organisms that are present at each and every bar. That means number of organisms that are present at each and every trophic level in a pyramid. That is the definition of pyramid. So, you are talking about number of producers. Now, for example, if I want to say that I am having a garden, so all the plants that are present in my house, in my garden, that comes under that producers. I go and count, you are counting the organisms, that means. So, next herbivores, go and count number of herbivores present, next level. So, like that it goes on. So, this is pyramid of number. What about the number next that I have designated over here? So, number of the organisms, you start considering them when you keep going up, right, till the apex part. We find that the number of the organisms keep on decreasing. That means producers are more in number, herbivores number is less than them. Next, carnivores number is less than herbivores. Top level carnivores number is less than the small carnivores. So, as you keep going up, the number of organisms that are present at every trophic level keeps on decreasing. Number of organisms, as you keep going on from one trophic level to another in a pyramid, it keeps on decreasing. Then what about the size of the organisms as you keep going up? The size of the organisms keep on increasing. For example, now let us talk about herbivores. So, let me go back to this example. Aphids are very small insects, very small insects, right. So, those small insects are eaten by ladybirds. Ladybird size is greater, I am talking about size of the organism. So, ladybird size of the organism is greater than aphids. Ladybirds are in turn eaten by insectivorous birds. So, what about the birds, like just now I mentioned about sparrow, its size is greater than the ladybirds. So, again these small birds are eaten by hawk. That means at the top level of any food food levels, when you talk about our pyramids or food chains, the top level organism whichever is there, its size is big, but the number would be small. So, if we are talking about, let us say that grass is there, producers are there, in turn eaten by, let us say deer, and deer is eaten by lion. So, what about the size of a lion or a tiger, which is the topmost carnivore? Its size is definitely bigger, greater than that of deer, that is herbivore, right. But what about the number that you talk about the topmost level, like tigers? Do you find their number more than that of herbivores, like horse or camels, which are herbivores? No, it is not like that. So, what we understand is that when you keep going up in a pyramid of number, the number of the organisms keep on decreasing, but the size of the organism, it keeps on increasing. So, if you have a shape like this, that is base is large, and then you go to the top apex, if you get such a kind of pyramid for any food level in any ecosystem, then we say that it is an upright pyramid, it is called as. Now, just imagine what would happen if the producer's number is less and the next level number is more. So, if there are only 10 plants producers, let me say, whereas there are 50 herbivores, they would fight with each other for food. They would eat all these 50 plants, they would fight with each other, result in extinction of the species. So, that is the reason I said previously that there is a way how this nature knows, ecosystem knows how to control itself and how to sustain itself. That is why we say ecosystem is structural and functional unit. So, this is upright pyramid. These are all the examples of upright pyramid. The base is large, producers, and as you keep going up, the number of the organisms keep on decreasing, size keep on increasing. Now, let us look at these two particular examples. Is it a must that every time we get actually the pyramid, can you draw pyramid for every food chain? For example, there is a banyan, one tree, there are a lot of insects present on that, and those insects become the prey, that is a food for only one woodpecker bird. Now, what kind of pyramid will you draw? Or for that matter, grass eaten by rabbit, rabbit by wolf. We can't get pyramids over here. So, orange color represents banyan tree, insects number is more, so green color, and again only one woodpecker. Is this a pyramid? No. So what we mean to say over here is that it is not possible for us to draw pyramid every time. Now next pyramid that we are discussing over here is pyramid of biomass. So what is this pyramid of biomass? Here this pyramid we talk about actually the quantity of the living matter that is present at every trophic level as you keep going up in a food level of an ecosystem. What we discuss here, as you keep going up from one level to another trophic level, we talk here about the quantity of matter, that means in general weight. It is a weight of the matter, weight of producers, weight of herbivores, weight of primary, secondary carnivores. It goes on like this. So that is what is pyramid of biomass. Another term for this biomass is any matter which is having either plant or animal origin, that is called as biomass. Any material that you are talking about which is having its origin either from plants or animals, that is called as biomass. So now what about the kind of shape of the pyramid that we get for biomass? So here you can just try to understand what I am referring to when I say biomass. So there are blue lines, horizontal lines. So the weight of the producers on one, next you have a weight of herbivores, then weight of carnivores, and it goes on. So here also, see dear students, take it for granted that all the shapes of pyramid that you talk about in general, they are all upright, but only pyramid of biomass of aquatic ecosystem is inverted. Please try to understand this point very clearly. All the pyramids, we talk about pyramid of biomass, pyramid of numbers of any ecosystem, forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, you talk about polar regions or aquatic ecosystem, anywhere you take, you generally find the pyramids are upright. Only pyramid of biomass of aquatic ecosystem is inverted. Why we say that pyramid of biomass of aquatic ecosystem is inverted? Now, if you try to consider the weight of these producers over here, which are nothing but of an ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem like ponds, lakes, rivers, or even oceans, these are the phytoplanktons, phyto belonging to plants, planktons are floating organisms. So algae, red algae, spirogyra, these are the producers over here. Can you compare the weight of these producers with a very big organism like fish which is living, all the fishes together? Their weight would be more than these producers put together. That is the reason we get over here inverted pyramid. So in general in a pond ecosystem you find phytoplanktons which are eaten by zooplanktons. Zooplanktons, floating organisms. So obviously the weight of or the quantity of the matter that is present here in zooplanktons is more than the phytoplanktons. That is why as you keep going up in an ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, the weight of the organisms keep on increasing. You get inverted pyramid. So like this. So green represents the producers, whereas blue represents the primary consumers whose weight is definitely more than primary. So here inverted pyramid, you can see the shape or the third structure pyramid which is there. Fish which is present, its weight is more than the small fishes or the herbivores that it is eating. Dear students, there is one small worksheet over here. So you try to take this worksheet which is there given in the textbook, make a note of this. Go out and choose any ecosystem and observe the food chains, herbivores, carnivores, and try to understand how food levels, food and pyramids work over there. Try to make a note of your observations here. So finally, what did we learn, dear students, in this particular lesson? We tried to understand some of the important terms like habitat, niche, population, community, differences between habitat, ecosystem, types of ecosystem, food chains, food pyramids, etc. So hope you understood this and try to download worksheets and try to test yourself how much you have learned. Practice learning. You have any doubts, you can ask your concerned teachers. You can discuss even with your friends. Thank you very much. We will meet again in the next digital class.